And I quote, "I'll be there in a minute. Give me a second."
Time is relative, folks. Time is relative.
Yes. So, hey, cheers to everybody in the chat. They're a division rival. I don't care how many wins they get. Screw them.
That wasn't the take I was expecting to hear.
I want to gush over watching live Chris Tanev.
I think that we completely underestimate the skill it takes to play defense.
One highlight or several highlights does not a Calder trophy make.
I'm stepping in here. I'm going to be the crotchety old man here. They need to learn patience. They need to understand the tension and everything and the drama.
How dare! Look at this! How is McDavid not getting a penalty?
You guys need to calm down with this, okay? You guys need to calm down with it.
Grief. Every time I appreciate Tyler's asking us to calm down, but like I think he's you know how sometimes you preach to the choir? I really think just Tyler is just talking to the entrance doorway of the church where nobody is in. Everybody is just left. Welcome to the Shifts and Pucks podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Shifts and Pucks, Facebook.com Shifts and Pucks, YouTube.com Shifts and Pucks. Subscribe wherever you get your audio. We are in spring. It is the playoff push, but it feels like it is hockey weather, especially in Calgary, Sean.
Yeah, I was going to say spring. I mean, yes, technically we are in spring now, but we got about a foot of snow here in Calgary. So, which, to be fair, is spring weather in Calgary.
It really is. Yes, I mean, tomorrow all that snow will be melted off, and then it will probably come back on Monday. That's how it is always in Calgary. I've heard it's a huge dump in Edmonton too.
I mean, what are you talking about? The snow or the actual city?
The snow. I'm going to be pissing off. I'm going to be probably pissing off some Oiler fans a little later. I don't need to add to the ammo of it. So,
well, we do have a man on the ground in Edmonton this weekend with Tyler, so we'll check in with him after.
Yes, Tyler is in Edmonton for an officiating event in Edmonton, so we miss him. So hopefully he goes back to Chris is driving the trucks and Devin is with the peelers. So it's, everybody. That's where everyone.
I missed that laugh. I was thinking that when we were going through the intro. I miss Dev's laugh. I need to hear it again.
Yes, we also should hear from Devin. Yeah. Well, let's get into this. Of course, we're in the playoff push. The Vancouver Canucks are on wrapping up this. As we're recording this, we'll have one more game. They got the Sunday afternoon game in Winnipeg. This road trip had a game where they outshot the New York Rangers 39-12 and lost 5-3. They had a game where they score late from Brock Besser again and pull out the win with a Jonathan Lekkerimäki shootout win in New Jersey. And then they had a pretty solid game, quite frankly, against the New York Islanders for the most part, winning that game as well. And then the Canuck Columbus game last night, which just a drunk. It was like someone on a drinking binge, and it was 3-0. Then it was 3-3. Then it was 5-3. Then it was 6-5. Then it was 6-6. And then the Canucks lose in a shootout 7-6. And so they come out of this right now. They're on this road trip 2-1-1. So 5 out of a possible 7 points, which I don't think is that bad. I guess you could argue in terms of the point part of this. Yes, they did lose. That was a pretty important point. They lose in Columbus, but they got a pretty important point that they shouldn't have gotten New Jersey. So I think this ended up evening out in some ways. I know that kind of just unfortunately
they deserve better versus the Rangers as well.
Yeah. They did. So,
Yeah.
if
they can find a way to beat the Jets, and go 3-1-1 on this road trip, I'm not sure you could ask much more of a team in the playoff hunt.
yes. That's fair. And I think there's a few important things with this road trip that we do need to deal with here. Elias Pettersson, 40, and Niels Höglander were injured, and it went home after the Rangers game. So Filipino was not on the trip. So, and then Teddy Bluger, when we'll go for the forward side here, Teddy Bluger has been playing with a flu. It sounds like one of the other things that has been going on in this road trip is illness, because Kevin Lankinen, of course, didn't back up for a couple of games due to illness. And then they called Max Sasson on an emergency basis. So they've had 7 Abbotsford Canucks on the NHL roster through this trip. They don't have their top 2 centers, Pettersson and Hedl. So coming through this, that's still pretty good, I think. Thatcher Demko returned. He played the game against New Jersey. He played the game against the Islanders. Lankinen played the game against Columbus. I think everybody is going to blame. There's going to be a lot of people blaming Lankinen for the game against Columbus, because he wasn't. I will agree, he wasn't great, but the defensive zone coverage was just, quite frankly, sloppy. So I think let's combine the two and say let's everybody take a little bit of a blame for that and for that. So all in all, you're still 4 points behind the St. Louis Blues in terms of the second wild card spot. I have decided a couple of things, though, Sean. The Utah, and I'm calling them the hipster club, because it seems like the hipsters have really fallen in love with this Utah team. I just a sidebar, I don't buy it. I don't believe this Utah team is as good as people have said that they are. I don't think
neither did the Lightning.
No, the Lightning did not believe in the no. Yes, they put a solid smack on them, 8-0. But I have said the Utah hipsters are out, but I have said the Minnesota. I think the Flames and the Canucks are now chasing the Minnesota Wild, not the St. Louis Blues. The Blues have won 8 in a row. They are eventually going to lose again. But I think the St. Louis Blues, have at least got one of those spots. But the Minnesota Wild are in a bit of a shaky spot here. They have still waiting to get Eriksson and Kaprizov back. And I'm not necessarily convinced that they're going to be on a super roll right now. So both the Canucks and the Flames are chasing the Wild right now for that last playoff spot.
I mean, it's really both. Like the Wild are 2 points up on the Blues with a game in hand. The Canucks are 4 points back of the Blues with a game in hand, and the Flames have 3 games in hand of the Blues and are 6 points back. So, like, the Blues could go on could lose 2-3 games here, and and let the Flames and the Canucks back into this. The Utah is at 76 points, 3 points back of the Flames, and 5 points back of the Canucks, let alone being 9 points back of St. Louis. Yeah, I don't see them being. They'd have to win out and get a lot of help to make the playoffs. Right now, I think St. Louis and Minnesota are it's going to be tough to catch either of them by the Canucks or the Flames. They're going to have to win majority of their games and have both Minnesota and St. Louis go probably, because if the Canucks have 9 games left, so 18 points, max of 18 points. So that would put them at 99.
Yeah, if they win all.
So, and St. Louis has 8 points, so they need 8 games left. And if they get 8, they don't have to be, but they can still be. St. Louis can still be slightly above 500, and the Canucks can catch them if they win out. But realistically, the Canucks need Minnesota to the Blues and Minnesota to play 500 or worse hockey for the rest of the season.
Yeah. It's going to be tough, but it's not. I mean, there's no exits on anybody's card yet, so
And the fact, like, you talk about all those players who played time in Abbotsford this year, playing big minutes. You got Atu Ratu, who scored 2 goals last night, as well as a goal versus the Islanders against his old team, the Islanders. I completely forgot about that. Like,
yeah.
But you've got, like, you have that. You have Sasson coming up. You've got DPD's bait. Like, I don't know if you include DPD as an Abbotsford Canuck in that 7 that you counted off there, Kev. But the Canucks didn't paper him down at the deadline. He's not an Abbotsford Canuck anymore. He's a Vancouver Canuck. Like, that's how highly they feel and are they feel of him right now. Like, he's an NHL defenseman now, and but having all those young players like Karamaki having a goal against New Jersey and the shootout winner, you're seeing the younger players that need to step up to help this team. Not only, like, just you need that not only for cap reasons, but it helps with the morale in the locker room when you see players that are essentially homegrown. Ratu maybe not be true homegrown, but he basically is. And it's just, yeah, having those players play in tough minutes and tough games, it's gonna help the Canucks going into next year.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of I think this year is it's been kind of a shitty year. Let's be honest. You had
cursed. This season's been cursed.
You had the Hughes injury. You had the Miller-Pettersson feud. You had Demko being hurt. You had Brock Besser went down. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit here. You just had a whole bunch of things that it just hasn't clicked for the most part this year, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You have to make the Miller trade. The free agent
finally looks like he's getting going and gets injured.
Yeah. Then you had those free agent signings in the offseason. Unfortunately, none of them are here except Jacob Russ. That's the only one that is still here. So that was unfortunate. And so just, and Kevin Lankinen and Kevin Lankinen, for the most part, held them in there as long as they could. And so, but I mean, you get it. The part of this is, and it's not only when you're tanking or quote unquote tanking or in a rebuilding situation that you need to develop. This is a time that you develop, right? So you get a Jonathan Lekkerimäki who will probably be on the NHL team roster next year. I don't know if he's going to be playing a lot more games in Abbotsford next year. You talked about EP25. You also got Atu Ratu, who is stepping up. Linus Karlsson scored a couple of goals on this road trip as well. So
yeah, that as well. Yeah.
And then you also have the other intriguing thing, and I didn't put it in the agenda, but we should talk about Tom Willander, of course, Frozen 4 wrapping up here. When does he sign with Vancouver? That will be an interesting question. So probably we'll get into what happens at the blue line probably in the future of the blue line at another episode. But I mean, the point here is it's unlikely that the Canucks are going to make the playoffs this year. But I think that there's still some things that you can take away from this and say, okay, things are going to be okay. I mean, the big question will be if they sign Brock Besser. I mean, Pius Suter. I don't think Pius Suter's coming back. I would love for that to happen, but I just think
I'm interested to see what happens with him because it's a fit here. do you go somewhere else and just try and get as much money as possible, or do you work with the Canucks and find a deal that pays you pretty damn good no matter what, and in a situation that works? So I'll be interested to see if that happens. But yeah, Besser's one. With Willander, him and Boston University play today versus Cornell at 1:00 Pacific. And if they lose, that it's a single elimination tournament. If they lose, then Willander will probably sign with the Canucks. The question is whether or not he will sign a full ELC, full entry level contract, right away and burn one of the years, or if the Canucks can convince him to have it start next season, the 25-26 season, and then do an ATO, an amateur tryout with the Abbotsford Canucks for the rest of the season. So, we'll be interested to see what happens there, because I think if the Canucks had their way, they'd have him play in Abbotsford for the rest of the season. And I think if they can get that done, that's fantastic, because sometimes you just need those handful of games playing in the AHL to make that next step. Look at DPD. Like, I didn't expect him to be basically an NHL defenseman right now. I expect him to marinate all season in the AHL, and then maybe push for a spot next year if development went like as good as I thought it could. But he's blown those expectations out of the water.
Yep, he has. And he's playing, not only is he playing the left side, he's playing the right side as well. So he's showing some versatility. Yeah. And that's huge. That's a huge thing. You just did a little sidetrack here. I don't know if this is a fair comparison. I am probably not. But one of the things I'm going to be absolutely fascinated by is the development of EP25, and in Calgary, the development of Zane Parekh. And I only bring this up because I think you bring in EP25, who's a really solid defensive defenseman who didn't have a lot of fanfare around him. And Zane Parekh is scoring all of these points in the OHL, setting all of these records. And I'm just going to be curious what happens here.
Well, you and I very much agree on the fact that defensive defensemen and how you play defense is completely underrated by the average fan, completely underrated by stats and all the analytics that we have access to these days. And it's also one of the toughest things to learn for these young defensemen coming up, especially when you're one of those guys who is just a point producer, because you're relied on in junior to basically take that puck and go, basically. And we've seen that with what's made the development of Quinn Hughes and what Lane Hudson needs to do in Montreal. It has been that development as a defenseman, without the puck, how to defend without the puck, how to control the game when you don't have the puck. And Marcus Pettersson does not get enough credit for how he plays, when he's without the puck and how he defends. DPD, I think, has the potential. I think I talked with Chris about this, and again, comparisons are always comparing players to other players, older players, is always a bit of a crapshoot. But I see a lot of Matthias Ohlund in DPD, and I'm not saying he gets to that level, because Matthias Ohlund was I don't think he might have been he was Chris Tanev before Chris Tanev. He was Jacob Slavin before Jacob Slavin. He was just that solid, physical, stay-at-home defenseman who could still just could move the puck decent, well enough that he still got points and all that. So if DPD can be that's what the Canucks need, because they already have Quinn Hughes. They've got Kirill Kudratsev in Abbotsford, who's looking like a good puck moving defenseman. Villander could be another sort of easy, like safe defenseman. You've got Marcus Pettersson, but if you can, which would also allow for more from a more offensive kit from Philip Roenick too, because
Right. Yeah.
we've seen him that he can do that as well. So we've done this on a few different episodes, just going over how excited we are about the way the Canucks defense is shaping up for the next few years and beyond. And it's like I know a lot of there's a lot of hand-wringing in the market right now about convincing Quinn Hughes to stay, even though he's got 2 more years left. And yes, the Canucks do need to get back into the playoffs. The Canucks do need to take a step again to convince him. But where the Canucks defense is at, they're gonna have a great 1-2 punch in net going into next season with Demko and Lankinen. Again, I know there's been some hand-wringing about what the Canucks can do in net, but I think Demko Lankinen is a 1-2 as a 1A 1B combo next year, just until they know to get Demko back into and not have to overplay him will be really good, especially if the blue line plays out the way I think it should. And then they just need to fix the scoring up front. And I think part of that starts with OG Petey figuring out his game and starting to produce at a point per game level, which he was starting to. And honestly, he probably needs to be a little bit better than that. And they need to find a second line center. And if they do all that, then you're looking at a team that, with some of the different pieces that they have, I think it can take that next step again, can get back into the playoffs if they don't find a way this year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we said this also in the summer. I think the Canuck fans and the Oilers fans were too busy yelling at each other to forget that the Vegas Golden Knights were the best team in the Pacific Division. And the Vegas Golden Knights have proven to be right now, they should finish first in the Pacific Division. So, I mean, teams bounce in and out of the playoffs. You don't have, it's not always teams are always going to be necessarily consistent, and things happen. Injuries happen. You just don't know, right? Like, look, the Oilers have been without McDavid and Draisaitl for a little bit here. They're going to get Draisaitl tonight when they play the Flames. So people kind of have this, everybody had this. I think the expectations were a little too high overall in Vancouver after coming off a pretty good run. Yeah, it's a step back, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't get back into the playoffs. And let me just address this Quinn Hughes situation, because I honestly don't get what the panic is. It's not like the Canucks are going to be a bottom 5, bottom 10 team next year. Like, I don't know are they going to be at the top? I don't know where they're going to be at the top of the standings, but we know that they're not in the San Jose, Chicago, Buffalo, some of the bottom tier teams in this league. It's a good market. It's a good city. I mean, we've had a few people see Quinn Hughes wander around the Whole Foods near our work. I mean, I don't think it's like this. I don't think there's a panic yet for me about Quinn. I mean, you do need to build a team for Quinn Hughes. I'm not saying you don't. Of course you do that, but I feel like people are kind of overreacting to this situation a little bit.
To quote Tyler, calm down.
Yeah, that for sure that's a calm down situation. So we'll see what this week heads out here. We'll have to see what happens in terms of that. I want to talk a little bit about Brock Besser, who is now kind of back to Brock Besser. I don't think this is one thing. I mean, of all the hand-wringing and things that have been talked about in the market, Sean, I don't think this has been talked about at all. We go back to that hit that he took in early November at Tanner Jeannot. We talked about how vicious that hit was. He missed 3 weeks. What we didn't talk about is the impact it might have had on his game. And I bring this up, of course, it's a good reminder with the Connor Zary injury, which that was just hard to watch. It just takes a little while for somebody to get back into the game after dealing with a significant injury. I looked back the last couple of years. His longest goalless game streak, I think, was 2 years ago, was 8 games. Like, he's been a pretty consistent scorer. I'm not saying he's had a concussion for the whole year. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it just has taken Brock Besser time to get
it's
game back.
That's probably part of it, but also like you've got everything else going on too, right?
Yeah.
You had the whole Miller situation, and just the flux that the Canucks have been in all season, and the lack of chemistry that the Canucks have had all season didn't help either. So it's probably a combination of a few things, and always coming back from any injury can be different. Like every injury is different, but yeah, coming back from it can be a little bit tough sometimes. So yeah, but I think it's definitely part of it, and I think the Canucks need to find a way to keep him. Yeah, they've got Lekaramäki coming up, but if you have him, Lekaramäki, and Garland on the right side on the wings, you're set. And
Well, let's not forget Kiefer Sherwood.
I mean, Kiefer Sherwood is a solid bottom 6 winger, and who can play up at times. He's had a hell of a season, but he's best suited as a 3rd or 4th line winger, as a grinder, and he's been a great fit. He fits Tocchet's system really well as well. But yeah, what the Canucks need is to elevate what that's the top 6 standard is for offensive skill.
Yeah, I'm not saying that Kiefer Sherwood is a top 6 forward. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think he's a good bottom 6 forward, who has a better set of hands than I think people realize. He brings some physicality. I actually don't mind the right side right now. If you keep Besser, you've got Besser, Lekaramäki, Connor Garland. I think is probably more suited.
Sherwood, yeah.
And Sherwood, that's not terrible on the right side. Your left side's actually not too bad either. You've got DeBrusk, you've got Höglander. I think Dakota Joshua will have a better year next year. Again, that's a guy that's had some tough times, and probably one of Sasson, Ratu, Bluger law firm moves to the wing. Who knows? So I actually think you're okay on the wings.
Yeah, again, it's the key for the Canucks going forwards, and to take that next step up again is to upgrade the top 6, specifically the second line center. And then Höglander's interesting because I think he's best served as a 3rd liner. So right now the Canucks have DeBrusk, who's probably a tweener between a 1st and a 2nd line winger. You've got Höglander, who's best served as a 3rd liner. You've got Joshua, who's best served as a 3rd liner. And then you've got the rest of them, right? So they need to find another top 6 winger as well would be nice. So
yeah,
I don't see the Canucks coming back with. I think there's going to be 1 or 2 of those of the forward pieces being moved out in the off season, because I think the Canucks are going to shuffle the deck chairs up front a little bit. So we'll see.
I forgot Drew O'Connor.
Yeah, again, another sort of 3rd line bottom 6 guy, right? Yeah. Another guy who, again, they re-signed him. So but one of those, especially on the left side, especially if they bring back Besser, and I think they should, and really hope they do. They have to figure out another top 6 winger, and another true and then the true number 2 center. And if they can get that, they need to get that number 2 center for sure. Because if you have, say, Besser, that number 2 center, and maybe DeBrusque on that second line, and then you do Petey and Hoagie seem to have found some chemistry there, and then you maybe that's where you put like Karamaki type deal. We'll see. I don't know what to expect up front, that going into the off season, and what the Canucks end up doing is really what I'm getting at, because there's a lot of moving parts, and you throw in how well Pius Suter's played, and where he fits. Again, it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, everyone's talking about how he's priced himself out and all this. Before I get into that, can I just say that I'm so that whole conversation, every time a potential UFA or RFA gets a point, scores a goal, everything, everyone talks about the contract. It's jumped the shark. It's just another part of the social media fire hose. It's just it becomes just it makes me want to turn off the social media, because it's jumped the shark. But the way he's played has been fantastic, and I just don't. I wonder if he looks at this at where he's at with this team, and wonders if it's a good long-term fit, as opposed to just going for the bag.
Just on a side note, by the way, the other drinking game is Nazem Kadri can get you a first-round draft pick on Flames Twitter. I look at the forward group right now. It's not a great group. I mean, you've got Sam Bennett, you've got John Tavares, you've got Brock Nelson, you've got Yanni Gord. Those are probably the four. There's Nicholas Backstrom has been injured. I mean, there's Mason McTavish might, if you're going to go after an offer sheet, Mason McTavish is a possibility maybe, but it's not a great list.
That's why I think it's going to be a trade. I think the Canucks have Hedl, and I think, again, he's someone I think right now, we don't know what he's going to look like coming back from this concussion, but like, he's better. I think, again, he's someone who's best served as a third line center. So
I think it's second, third. I still think there's a potential he could be a second.
I think he has the potential to be a second line center, but the Canucks, if the Canucks are taking that step next year, they need a true number 2, and it can't be a question mark.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I will agree with you that they still, no matter where you're putting Hedl, you need to improve your center position. No matter what you say, it has to improve.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, for Pius Suter, I mean, I feel like he's Elias Lindholm. I think he's a cheaper version of Elias Lindholm, where I think that, unfortunately, and I love Elias Lindholm, but he's probably not in the salary that Boston paid him. And I fear that Pius Suter is going to run into that problem if he gets that ching, as Rick Tocchet said. I think the expectations will be too high on him for what he's going to be paid for the contract. So,
and unfortunately, with the way the NHL is with the hard cap, you can be a good player, but if you're not playing up to the contract, people are going to shit on you.
Yep. Totally true. It's so that'll be an interesting question with Pius Suter. All right, so a couple of topics. The big topic. Actually, before we do this, before we get into the coaching part, what are you doing for goaltending the rest of the way? Like, I'm kind of thinking
There's only one back-to-back. There's only one back-to-back left in these 9 games. So you're gonna split that in one way or another. So Lankinen will get at least one start there, because I think you're gonna play Demko the majority of the way now.
Yeah,
assuming he stays healthy, right? So because you got afternoon game tomorrow against Winnipeg. Then you've got a game on Wednesday versus Seattle. Yeah, 3-game homestand. Seattle on Wednesday. Anaheim on next Saturday. Vegas on the following Sunday. It's an afternoon game on that Saturday as well. And then you've got Tuesday in Dallas, the following Thursday in Colorado, and then to finish the regular season off at home, the 12th against Minnesota, the 14th versus San Jose, and the 16th versus Vegas. I think Lankinen gets 2 starts, and then the rest are Demko.
Yeah. Okay. So you got Dallas, Colorado. Yeah, I could maybe. I wouldn't hurt giving him the Duck start. So that's one.
I do the Ducks, and then that gives it two in a row for Demko, Winnipeg, Seattle. Then you give Lankinen the Ducks start. Then you're going to give Demko for sure the Vegas and Dallas games. I do 3 in a row for Demko, and then the Minnesota start, and then Demko for the final 2, depending on where things are and where the Canucks are with the playoff hunt.
Yeah. This is, folks, why you need 2 goalies. This is why you don't trade Thatcher Demko. You need 2 goalies. It's a 2-goalie league, just the way it is.
Yeah.
So John Tortorella was frankly honest after a 7-2 loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs this week. And that honesty, in its essence, cost him his job. He was fired by the Flyers. Bradshaw has taken over. What does this mean for the Vancouver Canucks? Well, Rick Tocchet is a former Philadelphia Flyer, and there's some that believe that Rick Tocchet will, with his contract situation, which we'll get into, would be bound to Philly if he's not back with Vancouver. And I'm already seeing articles, Sean, of new coaching candidates in Vancouver if Tocchet leaves. This is me. Maybe I don't see Rick Tocchet and the Flyers being a fit. The only reason that people think it's a fit is because it's a former Flyer. But if you look at the actual construction of that Flyers team, they're a long way from competing. You've got Matvei Michkov, he's going to be a star in this league. He's going to be, I would put him 4th in the Calder voting. If I had a vote, I don't. They need to fix their goaltending. They need to fix their blue line. They need to fix their center position. They are really in a real need to rebuild that organization. I just don't see why would Rick Tocchet go to Philadelphia. That's not if Rick Tocchett's going anywhere. First of all, and he's not. We're going to explain why. He's going to go to a team that is a Stanley Cup contender. He's not going to Philadelphia. Philadelphia does not need Rick Tocchet.
No. But yeah, first off, before anything goes, the Canucks have a team option on Rick Tocchet's deal. They actually don't want to. They don't want to exercise it. They want to extend him long term for the next one, which is why they haven't exercised it yet. But if they have to, they will. So the Canucks have Tocchet for another year unless something really goes wrong. And the fact that the Canucks have had all this turmoil in such a shitty season, a cursed season, and they're still in the playoff hunt, even if it is an outside shot, says a lot about Rick Tocchet, says a lot about Quinn Hughes, says a lot about the organization that the Canucks have despite all of that. So, like, and I think that the players really enjoy playing for him. So you need to, I think it's for me, I think they need to calm down. Quote Tyler again, calm down. Not everything is a 5-alarm fire with this organization, like many seem to want to create and act like. And yeah, if Tocchet wants to go anywhere, like it's probably a team that's going to be less of a clusterfuck than the Flyers currently are. Yes, they've got 3 first-round picks this year, but the way teams go through coaches, unless the Flyers move those picks for players right now, Rick Tocchet's not going to coach them. Those picks, most likely, especially when you're dealing with rebuilding teams. So it's not. I don't see it as the only thing that Rick Tocchet could use that as is contract negotiation leverage, but I don't see it as a realistic option for him right now.
Yeah, I don't like, and I'm looking at I'm thinking about the other coaching situation. The only other possibility, realistically, I mean, the Rangers will probably, depending on what happens, I think the Rangers playoffs are moving on from Laviolette. Boston, I think, is an interesting situation, but I think they're going to have to go through some sort of refurbish, at least.
Whatever RE word you want to use.
Yeah. Toronto's not an option. Ottawa's not an option. The Florida teams are not an option. I mean, he is also people forget he has won a Stanley Cup in Pittsburgh as well. I don't know, like that. I mean, if we want to create that that's another. I mean, but I just don't.
But
see
again,
it.
that's a team. That's a team that's like it's Sidney Crosby and a bunch of over the hill players who can't play defense, and then a bunch of some younger guys.
Yeah, that team is not in any position to.
No.
Yeah, they don't need a Rick Tocchet. Yeah, they need to read. They need to read whatever. Yeah, there's not a lot about. I just don't see it. I don't see that happening at all. Like I don't see Philly being a fit, and I don't see Tocchet leaving. I won't eat. I won't promise to eat my hat. I won't say that, but I don't predict that Rick Tocchet will be going.
I'm with you, Kev. I don't see him leaving. I see this is a season that almost everything that could go wrong has gone wrong for the Canucks, and they're still in the playoff hunt.
Yeah,
like if they had a couple different bounces go their way in just not even a handful of games, and they win they've win 2 or 3 more games, they're right there. They have Demko, a healthy Demko for the majority of the season. They're winning. They're probably in it. They're even if they are in the second wild card spot, they're comfortably in.
Well, I mean, the 2 toughest losses this year were probably the one over Christmas where they had the big lead with 5 minutes to go against the Kraken and came away with only a point. And the first game of the year against Calgary, I think that was also a tough loss where they were up and they blew a point. They blew a point. I think those are the 2 games I look back on if the Canucks don't make the playoffs and why they're not in.
Yeah, but it's just like everything seems to have gone wrong for the Canucks, and they're still in the playoff hunt. So if they get, like I say, even if like a quarter of the things that went wrong this year didn't go wrong, they're they're in the playoffs right now, probably comfortably. So I think it's like they make, and you know that the Alvin and this management team do not sit on their hands. They are not going. It's not going to be a quiet off season.
Nope.
They are going to do what they can to improve this team. And we go back to those Abbotsford Canucks that we talked about earlier. Those players are going to, if the Canucks can rely on them to take a step next year and be NHL players, and there's a couple of them I think they will, that you can. That opens up cap space for the Canucks to go after bigger fish.
Yep. Yeah.
So, like, it remains to be seen if they can make the moves that they need to, because like last off season, unfortunately, the majority of the moves they made didn't pan out. But they were able to move on from them, and they pivoted and got Marcus Pettersson into the fold. They've got Drew O'Connor into the fold, and the Canucks are better off because of that. So we'll see.
But we knew going into this season that their off season was not complete. They were still going to add. We knew that they were going to have to add to that blue line no matter what. They had limited resources last off season. I will push back on the criticism on Alvin's off season. I think that Alvin did what he could in the off season. The priority was finding a winger for Petey. That was the absolute number one priority of the offseason. Everybody knew it. Find a winger for Petey. We need to get Petey back to normal. That was the entire priority. And you were not going to pay Zadorov that money, and you were not going to pay Lindholm that money. You didn't have the cap space to do it. So, and
I think the Canucks are, like, now the Canucks blue line is better off without Zadorov. Again, I've said this a few times already all season. I think the defenseman that they missed the most from last season is Ian Cole. But now that they've got Marcus Pettersson in the fold, he's a better version of Ian Cole.
Yep. And EP25 is probably going to be a better version of Zadorov.
Alvin and the Canucks made in the offseason, yeah. Heinen didn't work out. Sprong didn't work out. Desharnais didn't work out. Forbort's looked fine. Like, as a bottom pair defenseman, he's fine. DeBrusk is Jake DeBrusk is Jake DeBrusk. Like, he's a streaky goal scorer. But if he can, a lot of that, he's scored 24 goals amongst all this turmoil. If he can find some chemistry with Petey or whoever else whoever's the second line center next year, and the Canucks have a quiet season in terms of drama, or as quiet as it can be in the Vancouver market, like 30 goals from Jake DeBrusk is not out of the question.
Yeah, no,
so
it's not.
He's a streaky goal scorer. There's 9 games left. 6 goals in 9 games. He could get 30 goals this year, and that's what you paid him for, right? So that, like, Forbort panned out, Lankinen panned out. DeBrusk is still fine. It's just they didn't solidify the defense until halfway through the season, and then they had the whole Miller situation that threw the chemistry of the team off. So I'm still where I was last year. I'm cautiously optimistic of where the Canucks are at, and they have to take care of a couple items here. Besser's one, Tocchet's another, and then they need to figure out that second line center role, and then they should be able to bounce back into at least comfortably in a playoff position next year.
Well, I mean, if you look at the division, I think Calgary does take a step back next year. just think that this year was. I think a lot of what happened with Calgary is it was fueled by a lot of anger about what happened the year before in that dressing room and the players and sort of everything else. I think they end up taking a step back. I could see Dustin Wolf is phenomenal, Sean. I'm not saying he's not, but I don't know if we see
the book's gonna come out on Dustin Wolf, and he's gonna have to adjust.
Then
the Flames are a younger team, anyways. Especially the key players. They're gonna Connor Zary is gonna be a player to watch, especially coming off another knee injury, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You've got Perek will probably be with the team next year. You've got Hanzik will probably.
He should be in the AHL. I will stand on my soapbox by this that CHL, AHL, NHL rule must change. Must.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
We'll see, because that whole CHL, NCAA whole thing could be like. Actually, you know what? Maybe he goes to NCAA.
That's entirely possible. That helped kill Makar. I would not be surprised if he does that.
I see the Flames I see the Flames either being exactly where they are now or taking a slight step back. Anaheim's going to, if they take a step, they'll be up with where the Flames are. The Sharks are the Sharks. Seattle is Seattle. Like they don't have it. They don't have the top end talent to compete with in this division right now. LA is LA. I don't know. They will find a way and grind away, as I've been saying the Canucks, and they will be in the conversation. Vegas was Vegas. Oilers are the Oilers. Like if the Canucks play the way that the Canucks can, and have the goaltending the way that we know Demko can, if he's healthy, I don't see why the Canucks can't take that step back up.
No. Let's talk about, we're going to get into a bigger conversation about defense in a moment here. And I'm going to go on, as Shayna Goldman says, Mikko Rantanen. But Quinn Hughes has been injured this year. But this road trip, here has been his ice time. Rangers 28-25, New Jersey 31-35, Islanders 24-03, Columbus 28-24. He has gotten, within the last 6 games, it's only the Devils game that he has not got a point. I think that he still should get some votes for Norris or Hart. I know he's been injured, but
he will. He's not gonna win it this year, but he's damn close, despite missing the time. He's tied for second in points as a defenseman. He can but the underlying stats of how the Canucks play when he's on the ice versus off the ice is bonkers. He's third in goals amongst defensemen. Like, for me, like, I haven't done my calculation on the Norris yet. I haven't even thought about it, but he's, despite only playing 59 games so far, like, it's kind of ridiculous how good he's been. And like, the one thing I've noticed, his skating's actually gotten better, which is like mind-boggling.
Yeah,
like his acceleration's taken a step this year. He's always been good at the lateral movement, but his acceleration has taken a step, and he's become more dynamic because of it. And just I love watching him play. Like,
he's phenomenal to watch.
I think he'll be a finalist. I think he'll probably finish like second or third in voting, but he won't win it. That's my guess.
Yeah, that's probably my guess I think it's probably going to be. I think it's the top three scorers: Makar, Hughes, and Werenski. Although I wonder if Victor Hedman does sneak in there, and I wonder if Evan Bouchard we'll get to Evan Bouchard in a moment, but I wonder if that Quinn Hughes might be one of the top 3-on-3 players in the game. Like if you just watch how he controls the overtime, it's him. There's Marty Necas. There's Connor McDavid. Jack Eichel, I would say, also, and Nathan McKinnon, probably the best of some of the best players I've seen 3-on-3.
Yeah.
So there was a post this week. I'm not going to name this person. He is from Edmonton. He definitely is an Oilers fan. And he put out some numbers. I will quote it. Maybe I should say who this is, but I will. His name is Matthew Pettersson. He has made this claim. He's put his top 5 defensemen are Hughes, Makar Hughes, Bouchard, Evan Bouchard, Fox, Rasmus Dahlin. And this is his quote: Evan Bouchard's last 2 seasons, first in extra goals, expected goal share, third in goal share, first in expected goal share versus elite, third in points, fourth in GAR versus elite, third in GAR, second in rating versus the. Basically, if you're not an analytics person, you're probably like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And then so. This is kind of where I get a little. I don't want to be necessarily annoyed at him. He's doing his work. I'm not anti-analytics. What I am is trying to create biases to prove points without actually watching the game. And I'm sorry. This is where I piss. I don't think I'm going to be pissing off every Edmonton Oilers fan because I do think he is a very polarizing defenseman. But Evan Bouchard is absolutely not a top 5 defenseman in the NHL. He is a good, really strong offensive defenseman. He is great with the puck. He's got a great pass. I do not like his game in his own end. I think it's at times borderline lazy. I think that there's some Oilers fans that will probably agree with me on that. I just get like it's when we get into these numbers here, I just don't feel that you're completely watching. I'm not saying he's not watching the game, but I feel like that sometimes this is a lack of studying the full defensive aspect of the game. Like we saw Noah Dobson this week. I don't think that Evan Bouchard is much better than Noah Dobson. I watched Brock Faber this week. I certainly don't think that Evan Bouchard is much better than Brock Faber. I think we will be having a conversation about Brock Faber in the top 10 at least very soon. I'm a big Brock Faber fan. He is great in both ends of the ice and an asshole to play against. I don't know where you're at, Sean, but like it's just sort of
the issue with a lot of these stats and how people portray them is they just portray them as, well, because this, therefore. They don't ask the important question on them is why. He's got all those top end possession stats and goal share stats and goals above replacement stats. But he's also playing most of his ice time with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
And that is
the other part is you put any good, like Evan Bouchard is a very good top pair defenseman. That's all Edmonton needs him to be too, yeah. Especially when he within that team. He's, especially offensively, he's a very good offensive defenseman. But defensively, yeah, there's more often than not, he's average at best, if not below average defensively for your top pair defenseman. we talk like what makes the top defenseman, and I think the top three defensemen in the game right now are Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Victor Hedman. And what makes all three of those guys good is that in the neutral zone, in the offensive zone, in the defensive zone, they are above average at worst, if not one of the best in those zones. Like Quinn Hughes, there's no one better at walking the blue line than Quinn Hughes. There's no one better than control, like Cale Makar rotating down and having his shot is damn good. Victor Hedman's the best of those three defensively, and all three of them control the puck in the neutral zone so damn well. But in today's, the other issue with those stats is that they don't measure defensive skill very well. They are offensive stats or possession stats, which are either neutral or offensive in what they measure, not defensive. So, and what is their position again, Kevin?
Defense.
So when you talk about the top echelon of players, you need them to be good. To be a top five defenseman, you need to be good offensively, good in the neutral zone, and good defensively. And unfortunately, I don't see that in Evan Bouchard. He's probably, for me, he's probably in the 8 to 15 range. I think that's a bit of a big group there, including the Noah Dobsons, the Brock Fabers, the Charlie McAvoys. Like when we discussed this, when this post came out, I listed off players that I think deserve to be in this conversation, and like I completely missed Dobson. I think I completely missed McAvoy. I'm trying to list off defensemen that I think deserve a lot of credit that don't get it. So it's. And there's probably a group of 5 or 6 that you could probably fit for your next 2 defensemen in the top 5 there. But I think for me it's a top 3, and then a battle for the lot. You can make an argument for a lot of players for those other 2 spots if you want to list off your top 5 defensemen in the game.
I would probably put Miro Heiskanen in that Makar, Hughes, Hedman group. I would just put him above. I mean, unfortunately, injury prone. And I think we forget Charlie McAvoy because he also got injured. But can't remember. He laid a massive, incredible, perfect hit on Connor McDavid at the Four Nations. Like, just perfect. Absolutely perfect. Like,
I think Heiskanen he's a step below those top 3 for me, but he's real close. Dahlin as well. I don't think people realize how good Rasmus Dahlin is because he's stuck in Buffalo, unfortunately.
Yeah. He is stuck in a dump, actually. Like it's a dumpster fire of an organization. But he's And Zach Werenski, I mean, I love his talent. I wish this guy was healthier, but he's fun to watch too. So but I just, to me, I don't want to say that Evan Bouchard is overrated, but I think that at times, and maybe we're guilty of it too. I feel like we watch our players, we watch our team more than everybody else, so we tend to overrate our players, and I feel like this is what's done here with Evan Bouchard. And I think that part of this is, I think that, of course, the question is what you're going to pay Evan Bouchard because of that Jacob Chikrin contract, which is a fascinating question that Edmonton will have to answer for themselves. But it'll be an interesting question what you're paying Evan Bouchard. And I think that that's probably what they're trying to justify. Evan Bouchard deserves $10 million, maybe.
He's got he's 3.9 million this year, and he's an RFA with arb rights, and he's going to have all the arbitration argument there. They're going to want to lock, and if they want to lock him up long term, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, yeah, and they got burnt this offseason with Holloway and Broberg, and I think that they are.
I was talking with a friend of the show, Graham, about that, and it's just going after Skinner, going after Arvidsson over taking care of Holloway and Broberg was just not. It was such a bad move.
Yeah, and I remain. I think it's going to cost the Oilers this year. I don't think that they're a cup contender. I don't think that they're the cup contender everybody thinks they are. The hockey gods have, when you make errors like Holloway and Broberg and you lose them, the hockey gods do not smile on you.
Yeah.
Win championships. That's, but we'll see on that end. And giving Victor Arvidsson a no trade clause.
No trade clauses are kind of the currency of the realm right now, unfortunately.
Yeah. That's their problem. Of course, I think everybody's eyes have been on the grade 8 Chase, as he's now 5 away from tying Gretzky. And I mean, that is a major story. I am no question. I do think he at least ties it before we get into next year. I think we're going to see that. But there was an underrated historic moment here that happened. Sidney Crosby broke a Wayne Gretzky record. He is a point per game player for 20 consecutive seasons. And all things considered, and we talked earlier about how bad the Pittsburgh Penguins have been for the last couple of years. And what is this going to be? This is about the 3rd straight year that the Penguins are going to miss the playoffs, which is just unbelievable to me. He's still Sidney Crosby. He is still that guy that just grinds it out. And, his backhand will go down as one of the greatest in the game, but there's probably not, like, in terms of other, like, wow, what does Sidney Crosby do better than everybody else? He just works his ass off. I think he's one of the harder worker players.
He's Sidney Crosby. Therefore, he is the best player of his generation.
Yeah. And top 5 all time. Close to top 4, but he's top 5 all time for me.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that.
Yeah. So, and I just don't think that he's getting, unfortunately, that deserves the recognition that it gets. That deserves a little bit more recognition. I get it. What OV's doing is phenomenal and easy to watch, but what Crosby's doing, it continues to be amazing. And like Noel Malkin again, they're bringing up kids. It's anyway.
No, it's fantastic. He, like I said, best player of his generation. And like you saw how good he was even in the Four Nations. Like it just was so nice to see him playing with all the best players. Can't wait to see him in the Olympics next year.
Nope. Yeah. Is there anything else we need to discuss?
No, I think we covered it all, Kev.
All right. Well, how do we follow everyone?
I am BeardedCanucks03 on Twitter. X Machine, whatever you want to call it.
The social media hell. Devin is
the fire hose.
The fire hose, yes. Devin is on Instagram at Devin Holmes Smith. Find him there. Chris is Schneid's, SCHNEIDZ. Tyler is TNOBLE. Again, out doing roughing stuff. I am KEVOLE. Shifts and Pucks, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Subscribe wherever you get your audio. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now. Well,